Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the distributive property and how it works. The distributive property in math is used inside and outside in many forms. To quote the dictionary, distribute means give shares of something or to deal out and occur throughout an area. So if you think about it, that's what the distributive property is. To carry out things out over other areas. So the distributive property is made up of two things. It's a combination of multiplication and division. We want to multiply whatever's on the outside of parentheses to the inside of the parentheses. And it occurs to how many terms we have inside the parentheses. Since we have two things inside the parentheses here on number 1, we want to distribute this 3 to the 4x and to the 5. If there's nothing in between the number and the parentheses, this means multiply. We need to distribute this 3 to the 4x and to the 5 by multiply. So we can rewrite this as 3 times 4x plus 3 times 5. And we get 12x plus 15. If we start with two terms inside the parentheses, we should finish with two terms on the outside. In number 2, it's written a little bit backwards. The number on the outside is written afterwards. You're not going to see that very often, but if it does occur, this is this quantity of 4x minus 8 in parentheses times 2. There's no sign in here that says it's adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. So we assume it's multiplying. So we distribute backwards. 2 times 4x. Remember, this is a negative. Remember, plus a negative. Plus 2 times negative 8. Here we get 8x plus negative 16. Number 3. Here we have a negative number out in front. We still have two terms inside. This negative stays with this 5. So it becomes negative 5 times 2x plus negative 5 times 3. We end up with negative 10x plus a negative 15. Many times, the biggest pitfall we have, the biggest mistake is people distribute the number to the first term, but forget about the second term or any other remaining terms. So don't forget, it goes throughout the parentheses. We look at number 4. How many terms are involved here inside the parentheses? This time there's 3. So we have to multiply the 4 to all 3 terms. I have a subtraction here. I change it to add an opposite. So 4 times 3a plus 4 times negative 7b plus 4 times 2c. And we end up with 12a plus negative 20b plus 8c. Now another one of the places where there's a lot of mistakes is when we see negatives, just like this one in number 3. Sometimes we forget that negative. Or if we have other things between it. The only time we want to multiply is when there's no sign in between that number and the parentheses. So if you look at number 5, there's a negative sign, and 2y minus 6x. Now, if there's no number in front of here, remember, what number do we assume it's going to be? We can put a 1 in there. You assume that it's a 1, it's a negative 1. times these numbers. Again, here this minus 6x changes to plus a negative, adding the opposite. So for multiplications, our negative 1 times 2y plus a negative 1 times a negative 6x. We end up with negative 2y plus 6x. Number 6. And get a little bit fancier here, a little bit more complicated. 5x minus 3, parenthesis 2x minus 4. Now what is the number multiplying or distributing to the stuff inside the parenthesis? And again, I'm going to change everything to adding opposites. I'm going to change this to plus a negative and plus a negative 4. Now the 5x is being added to whatever's over here. The only thing I distribute is this negative 3 to those two terms. Carry down the 5x. Now I have negative 3 times 2x plus negative 3 times negative 4. Now before we can solve anything, remember we want to multiply before we add. So multiply these two quantities together. Negative 3 times 2x is negative 6x. Negative 3 times negative 4 is a positive 12. Now, just like earlier in this chapter, we always want to try to combine like terms. Our like terms are x's. 5x and negative 6x is negative 1x. And we copy down to 12 to complete it. Number 7. 9x minus parenthesis 8 minus 2x. There's a minus sign in here. Just like before, we have to put a 1 here because there's a number here that's multiplying this. Change or subtraction to adding opposites. Plus a negative. Plus a negative. Again, the 9x is not multiplying this. 9x is being combined with it. So you end up with negative 1 times 8 plus negative 1 times negative 2x. Do your multiplication first. Negative 8, positive 2x. Can we combine these numbers? And I'm kind of running out of room here. We can combine the x's. 11x plus negative 8 would be our final answer for number 7. And we're going to do one more. There's a couple fraction problems. I will go over number 9 with you in class. But the fractions and decimals work the same way. So here's number 8. We have 1/4 parenthesis 8x minus 12. First thing, add the opposite. So it changes to plus a negative 12. Same rules apply. Set it up the same way. 1/4 times 8x plus 1/4 times negative 12. Now if you reduce, that's good. If you need to use your calculator, that's fine too. But this is going to end up being 2x plus a negative 3. 4 goes into 8 2 times. 4 goes into 12 3 times. See you next time.